everybody. So today I'm going to start a new series, and it's going to we'll break this up in several parts. It's about Solomon and his secrets to success. One of the things that it's always intrigued me is in the book of Proverbs how smart he was. You know, he had so much wisdom or wit or common sense. And then, for some reasons, towards the end of his life or halfway through his life, he becomes a total failure. Why? How is it that the smartest man, the richest man that ever lived can become such a failure and die at a young age? Scholars say he died in his 50s and he was crippled with arthritis, lost half his teeth. I mean, how could that happen when you have the wisdom of God in you, when you're so smart? Well, again, like I said, it's always intrigued me. I like teaching out of the book of Ecclesiastes, and I call it the life of a backslider. What not to do? Well, one of the things that we find out about Solomon is that he had these amazing secrets to success. And if you follow them, you too can be a success. And when I say the word success, I'm not talking about, the wealth and the trillions. I'm talking about a success in life, in every area of your life, in relationships, in marriage, in business, in your health, in personal fulfillment, in your personal purpose, finding your purpose in life. All these can be found if you follow Solomon's secrets to success. And they're laid out in the book of Proverbs. So let's take a quick look at Solomon, and let me give you a couple of statistics about him. He was born around 974 BC, okay? So that's before Christ. His father David, he was David's son, his father David died and handed over the reins, just before he died, he handed over the reins to Solomon, and Solomon was 12 years old when he became the king. Well, that immediately puts a whole different spin on things. Because if you're 12 years old and you've got to run a kingdom, and you're the king, you're going to need some help. You're going to need some wisdom. And the Bible says this, and I'll read it in 1 Kings chapter 3 and verse 3. It says, "And Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of his father David, except that he sacrificed and burnt incense at the high places." So here we see that Solomon's heart was for God. I know the thing that we always remember about Solomon is that he had, 300 wives and 700 girlfriends, or vice versa? I mean, he did what he wasn't supposed to do. He violated every law. He chased after everything except for God. That was in halfway through his life. And so we know that about him. So here we see that he loved the Lord. But again, the book of Ecclesiastes, it doesn't seem like he did love the Lord. Again, that's not what we remember about him. Actually, he violated so many of God's laws that Jesus did not come through his loins. It didn't come through his descendants. God didn't pick him because he violated the temple. He violated the laws of God so much. So now as we continue, we see in 1 Kings chapter 3, it says that God appeared to Solomon in a dream. And he asks Solomon, he says, "Solomon, whatever you want, I'll give it to you." So Solomon thinks about it and he says this, "I need wisdom. I need to be able to run a kingdom. I need to be able to manage, to lead." And so God says, because you just asked for wisdom and not for money and not for anything else, he said, "I'll give you everything." And he did. God gave him everything. He had so much wealth that in today's day, if we take dollar for dollar, he was probably a trillionaire. Solomon was a trillionaire back then. He had more money than Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and every other billionaire combined. He was a trillion, and we're talking trillions. You've heard of Solomon's caves, right? All the gold that he had. It was just amazing how much money he had and kingdom. Now, these laws that we're talking about, they're laws for living. And if you abide by them, and Solomon goes through every one of them in the book of Proverbs, if you abide by them, you'll have personal fulfillment. You'll find out your purpose in life. When I say fulfillment, you'll be happier. You'll have more peace. You won't go to your grave in regret because you would have accomplished everything you set your heart to do. You'll live longer. You'll have success in business, in finances. You'll learn how to take care of your money. One of the things that he talks about is not being lazy and sitting around doing nothing. And so a lot of these practical principles are actually spiritual principles that God laid out for living. Now, if we look at natural laws, right, there are natural laws in life that we have to abide by. If you violate them, you're going to get hurt. Let's look at the law of gravity, for example. The law of gravity, right, it keeps us on the earth, and everything abides by the law of gravity. You can't violate it. If you do, you can violate it. If you do, you're going to get hurt. For example, you jump off of a one-story building, two-story building, guess what? The law of gravity is still in effect. You think you can walk off that building, the law of gravity kicks in, and you're going to get hurt. You're going to fall to the ground, and you're going to get hurt. Maybe you lose your life. Right? So you can't violate the law of gravity. Let me go a little beyond that. There is a natural law that we figured out. It's called the law of thrust and lift. It's what allows birds to fly and sort of violate or override the law of gravity. That's how birds fly. It's the law of thrust and lift. Well, we figured it out. Humans, scientists figured it out. And that's how planes can fly. That's how you have tons and tons of metal that can fly through the air. And when you cooperate with the laws of thrust and lift, we can travel around the world quickly, safely, efficiently. We can go anywhere in the world. We can visit family, friends. We can literally take the gospel around the world because of the laws of thrust and lift. Now, pilots know that. If one of those laws ceases to operate, the plane crashes. The law of gravity kicks in. Right? When I say thrust and lift, thrust are the engines. They give the power. They give the force, the thrust. Lift are the wings. So you eliminate one of those. You eliminate a wing, it ain't going anywhere. The plane isn't going anywhere. You eliminate the thrust, the plane isn't going anywhere. If you eliminate any one of them while you're in the sky, the plane will fall out of the air. Okay, so those are the laws that we have to cooperate with. Again, pilots know that. Engineers know that. Isn't it interesting that there are laws for living that we as Christians and believers, we sort of violate them? If we follow them, if we cooperate with these laws that God put into place, we'll have success in life. We'll always prosper. We'll always be in good health. We'll always have peace and fulfillment and purpose. But these are God's spiritual laws. You all know the spiritual law called sowing and reaping, right? It's a law that God put into place, a spiritual law. Not only is it spiritual, but also physical. So in other words, you can't reap if you haven't sowed. A lot of people want to do that. They want to go to the reaping part and never want to go to the sowing part. I will say this, for years, my wife and I, we've been tithers, we've been sowers, and so we enjoy reaping. We enjoy giving, sowing, and we enjoy reaping. Well, you can't enjoy reaping if you're not sowing. And so it's a spiritual principle. And a lot of people, like I said, they look at your harvest, but they have never seen you're sowing. They're jealous of what you're reaping, but they don't see that you've been sowing as well. You cannot violate spiritual principles. And so now it comes to Solomon. Solomon was the same way. Solomon had these spiritual laws that he followed. He wrote about them in Proverbs. He wrote all about these wonderful laws that God put into place. And he followed them. That's why he had such great success in life. But the moment he started to violate those laws, his life went down the tubes quickly. He didn't live a long life. Like I said, according to scholars, he died in his 50s, crippled with arthritis, didn't have many teeth. Yet here's the man, who married 300 women, had 700 concubines, or vice versa. But he violated the laws of, one wife. And he was marrying everybody just to increase his kingdom. And so because of that, because he did all these things, his life went down the tubes. So folks, here's the thing. We're going to go through this. We're going to learn a lot about Solomon and these laws. They're secrets. They're not just secrets, but if they're step-by-step secrets, things that he has laid out in Proverbs, that if we follow them, we'll have the same success. So that's what we're going to do for the next coming weeks. So tune in, listen, watch, and we will all step forward and understand these secrets that Solomon laid out and be successful. God bless you. We'll see you soon.